You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
Over the weekend, Brian Thomas Jr. was in town doing an appearance. Our friend Jacques Doucet from WAFB was there, among others, caught up with Brian Thomas. And Jacques got this soundbite from Brian Thomas about Garrett Nussmeier and how he kind of compares a bit to the path and trajectory that Jayden Daniels took. Give a listen.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Garrett can do the exact same thing as Jayden. Like I said, being with Garrett, we came in together and just seeing him get better each and every year and progress throughout the years, I feel like he definitely can do the same thing.
So if you couldn't hear, because Survivor was there blaring in the background, so you came in with Garrett and watched him get better every year, certainly think he could do the same thing that Jayden did. And I know the thought is probably a little bit to eye roll and say, yeah, of course he's going to be what Jayden Daniels was. I want to give some context, though, first, because when Brian Thomas said we came in together, it reminded me of something. So remember, Brian Thomas and Garrett Nussmeier were both members of the signing class of 2021. So they came in in the same freshman class together. And if you go back to 2021, remember that was the last year of Ed Ogeron. And you had Kayshon Boutte back that season. You had some veteran receivers in that group. And as a result, Brian Thomas didn't play a large role as a true freshman. And I was reminded of a story that Jarvis Landry told me back in 2011. And if you remember, just for context, that was at a time when LSU was not very explosive offensively, at least not in the passing game. Remember what happened? LSU was great in 07, threw all the interceptions in 08, and Les Miles went into a hole. They hired John Chavis. They decided they were just going to line up and run the ball, play defense, shorten the game. That's how they were going to win. And when LSU signed Zach Mettenberger, remember he came in from junior college in 2011, but he sat behind Jefferson and Lee. And then 2012 was going to be his year. Well, Jarvis came in as a freshman in 2011 along with Odell. And in camp that year, Jarvis had a foot injury, so it really limited his ability to play offense as a freshman. He didn't get a lot of reps. Plus, you had Ruben Randall and Russell Shepard, some really talented guys. But Jarvis played a lot of special teams that year. But Jarvis told me that he would intentionally, every time they were doing quarterback receiver drills, he would match up in line with Mettenberger because he knew in 2012 and 2013 he was going to be catching passes from Mettenberger. So it was all about getting timing with Mettenberger, not so much the two seniors, Jarrett Lee and Jordan Jefferson. It was he wanted to get every rep possible with Mettenberger so they could get their timing, rapport, all of it. It's very smart. And I thought of that whenever I heard Brian Thomas say, he and Nussmeier came in together, because this isn't just the perspective of someone who played at LSU, who was a veteran on the team when Nuss was a freshman and just saw him from afar. Like, it's a very different perspective because Brian Thomas and Garrett Nussmeier probably do have a great rapport. They spent that entire 2021 season playing pitch and catch with each other. Now, when Jayden came in 22 and Brian Thomas emerged, then it was more Jayden and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, and all know the story. But there is a greater degree of believability with Brian Thomas. And then there's just flat the numbers. Like, I'm going to run through this. So, like, you don't have to memorize it or anything. I don't know it's particular if you're not watching or if you're listening. Numbers confuse people. But just, I'm going to throw out a lot of numbers. Just bear with me as I say it. It's going to make sense. If you look at Mettenberger, year 1 to year 2, and remember, all these guys, Mettenberger, Joe Burrow, Jayden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, all of them were in their 4th year in college when they started for the first time at LSU. And then they came back for their 5th year, which was their 2nd year starting at LSU. So there's that component of it. We've seen this story now 3 times where a guy was a fourth-year collegiate quarterback starting for the first time at LSU, had a good year, and then came back for a fifth year and exploded. Mettenberger threw for 2,600 yards, comes back, throws for 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. He went 2,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, to 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. And remember, he got injured in the regular season finale against Arkansas, didn't play in the bowl game. Burrow went from 2,900 yards and 16 touchdowns to 5,600 yards and 60 touchdowns. Absurd. Now, he did play 15 games, but still, he was absurd. Jayden went from throwing for 2,900 yards and 17 touchdowns to 3,800 yards and 40 touchdowns. So, yes, all three of them went from good seasons to kaboom. Two of them won the Heisman Trophy. You look at Garrett Nussmeier, in his first year as a starter, he threw for 4,000 yards, 4,052, and 29 touchdowns. The closest to him was Jayden at 2,900 yards. Nussmeier threw for 1,100 more yards than did Jayden Daniels in his first season as a starter. And oh, by the way, Jayden played in 14 games that year because they had the regular season, the SEC championship, and the bowl game. Nuss had 13 games. So in one fewer game, Nuss threw for 1,100 more yards than Jayden did in his first season as a starter. And Nuss threw for 12 more touchdowns. So all that to say, Nussmeier actually, statistically, was better than all three of those guys in his first year as a starter, and Jayden was a 3-year starter at Arizona State. So it is very plausible to assume that Garrett Nussmeier will improve, isn't it? He just started for the first time last year. Now he's got all that experience. Now he's a fifth year in college. Isn't it logical to assume he's going to get better as a fifth-year player than he was as a first-year starter a year ago? How much? Yes. How much better? I don't know. Is it he goes from 4,000 yards to 5,000 yards, 4,000 yards to 4,800 yards? I don't know. Is he playing 14, 15, 16 games? That obviously is going to have a lot to do with it as well. This was in 13 games. Well, if you win, if you get to the SEC championship, that's 13. You make the playoff, you could play 1, 2, 3, 4 more games, depending. Do you have how that all plays out? All that to say, yeah, it's very logical to assume that Garrett Nussmeier is going to improve. And it's not crazy to think that you're going to lose. You obviously lose the late Kyron Lacey. You lose C.J. Daniels. You lose Mason Taylor. So you're losing 3 of your elite pass catchers from a year ago. Yeah.
Mason Taylor!
But you're returning Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Chris Hilton, Trey'Dez Green. You've added Nick Anderson, Berrien Brown, Destin Hill, Bauer Sharp. You have more weapons this year than you did a year ago. You got more weapons, a more comfortable quarterback, a favorable schedule. Yeah, I do think Brian Thomas is right. I do think we're going to see Garrett Nussmeier take a similar step this year. Now, is it going to be enough to win the Heisman or win a national championship, all that stuff? I don't know. There's a lot that's out of his control. But if you look at the Heisman odds as of this very moment, according to DraftKings, Arch Manning is the favorite at plus 700, which is just weird. And then Garrett Nussmeier is the second best odds at plus 900, followed by Drew Aller at plus 1,000, Cade Klubnik at plus 1,400. I'll tell you this much. Look at Nussmeier and Klubnik. Whoever wins that game week 1, the number you see right now is the best number you're going to get all year on that player. So I would actually recommend maybe taking it, but then also waiting to see whoever loses that game and then bet them again after they lose because you're going to get an even better price. You certainly come back. We saw Jayden Daniels lose 3 games and win the Heisman Trophy. So it's going to be stockpiling numbers, and it's going to be how good your team does. Is it possible? Yeah. This isn't purple and gold sunglasses. He's got the second best Heisman odds going into the season. Of course it's possible. I would say it's likely that Garrett is going to improve year to year. I'd be surprised if he didn't. All of his numbers didn't improve. The question is how much? And is your defense good enough to get you to a championship? That we will learn in time.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.